Really quick, are you from McMinnville? Where are you from?
I live in Newburgh.
Okay.
Yep.
Born and raised, or
no? I'm a Beaverton kid.
Oh, me too.
So, yeah.
Yep. Did you go to Beaverton High?
I did.
Oh wow, I went to Valley Catholic.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy.
Beaverton kid.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, and you're from McMinnville.
From McMinnville.
Yay! But you came from Salem.
Well, I
like you lived, you worked in Salem.
I did. I started in McMinnville. I worked here from 94 to 98. I was 2 years as a student and then 2 years part-time here. I went to the city of Salem for 25 and a half years. And
that's not a small amount of time.
So,
well, welcome back. You heard it here first, folks.
When you're bored and feeling blue and you don't know what to do, just turn on your screen and keep watching me. It's Mandy and Friends, where the fun never ends. Mandy and Friends, where the fun never ends.
Hi. Hey, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Mandy and Friends. We're back with another episode. This is exciting. Who I have here today. I have two gentlemen. I don't know where you guys came from. You just were off the street.
We're
just like, hey, guys, you want to be on the show?
Yep.
Come on in.
We were going to lunch, so we're still hungry.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we'll hurry up so you can go get some food. No, this is Reed, Fire Chief Reed. Wait, what's your last name?
Godfrey.
Godfrey, Mr. Godfrey, Fire Chief Godfrey. Don't know what to call you. Sorry, sir. And Ty, his right-hand man.
Yep, Ty Darby. I'm the fire marshal.
Yay! I wore my red jacket.
And I matched you.
Yeah.
On purpose.
We called each other. We're like, hey, bestie, what are you wearing today?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not what happened at all. For fire, because I love fire. I actually was... Side note, my Girl Scout name, because in Girl Scouts, for Girl Scout camps and stuff, you get to choose your name.
Sure.
And I was Fire. For 12 years, that was my name. So, yeah, fun story. What would you...
don't really like fire.
Well, no, I love watching candles and, like, campfires, but... Yeah, no, they can...
We just wanted to clarify.
Obviously, fire
This is the fire marshal, so we want to make sure that
I'm not a
we're
pyro.
on the same page.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, you came from a fire this morning. You just said...
We did. We had a structure fire this morning, just a little before 5 a.m.
Crazy. So you're a tired man.
We were all up early. Chief was there too, so...
Oh, my word.
It was a busy morning.
Okay, so for those who don't know... When you say structure fire, that's just a building is on fire, or is it more specific than that?
No, that's a fair statement.
Okay.
And we in our world we would differentiate between residential or commercial structure fire in some cases too, but generally speaking, that's a
And did you
building.
Did you put it out, or is it still going?
It's out.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, good.
Yeah, we put it out.
We would not be here if it was still going.
Yeah.
What? Seriously?
The fire chief would take issue to that.
You wouldn't be like, hey guys, I gotta go. Mandy and Friends, you guys got this.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing your job and then being here. So does that mean that you can be called at any time? You got your radio on you.
Yeah. So generally speaking, the chief and I are some of the administrative staff, but we're kind of always on call. I mean, 24/7, 365. So, yeah. But then we have our responders that are on duty as well. But we are on the administrative side of the house, running the business.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And speaking of business, this is why you're here today.
Yes.
I have lived in McMinnville for 9 years. I really enjoy being a part of local government as much as a citizen can be, just like watching city council meetings and trying to be involved. When I first heard of the fire district and like the shifting of things, I was so confused.
Sure.
And I know there was a measure that was voted on and all the things. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down kindergarten style. And
that's my style right there.
That's so
I'll
good.
be good at that.
That's my style. Because what I want to understand is what it was before it is now. What was the fire district, or what was going on before it became a fire district?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Sure. So that's a great, fair question, and I think it's important. One of the things I learned when I was testing for fire chief is you're not the only one with that question. Many didn't know that we had a rural fire protection district and we had a city fire department.
Okay.
So to break those two down, exactly what you're talking about, for many years, in fact, this year, the city fire department is 150 years old. And in that period of time, they also combined to a rural district. That was everything that was around McMinnville, but wasn't in the city of McMinnville. And that rural district contracted with the city for services. As you know, or most know, most of the resources are inside of the city of McMinnville. But yet our fire district now covers 98 square miles. So what we did was what the voters did, what we proposed and the voters approved, was to take those two entities and combine them into one. There are many reasons for that, scale and scope being one of them.
Just to clarify, so what you're saying is before it became a 98 square mile district, the rural towns, like, are we talking Amity, Carlton?
No. We're talking like Baker Creek Road.
Okay.
We're talking like Peavine Road.
Okay.
Those aren't in the city,
right?
But they're in the district. Carlton, Yamhill, Lafayette, all those agencies have their own fire departments or districts.
Okay, so when someone, say, from Baker Creek, before the new district, when you say they contracted out, where were they getting their help
from us.
Okay.
And so they paid a little bit less than the city residents did. And when they called 911, the city of McMinnville Fire Department went and responded out there.
Okay.
But I think the most important part of the reason why, the question comes of why. Why did you merge?
Yeah.
Why did you put those two together? And the main reason is because as a fire district, we have the authority now for all 98 of those square miles. We have taxing authority, we have response authority, we have investigation authority. We have a lot of authority over that district.
Okay.
When we were a city department, we contracted for those services. So there was actually a board of directors that oversaw the rural district, and then a city council who oversaw the city fire department. Now, as a fire district, when we, and I'll use this as an example. Again, I want to go back to the why. The why is to consolidate those two. So now what we do is we look at that whole 98 square miles as one fire district.
Yeah.
So right now, as I'm looking at where do my next fire stations go, historically, we would have looked at a 12 square mile city bubble, right? And that's where we would have put our fire stations, is to make sure that we could get to everybody's house within about 5 minutes from your time of calling 911. Well, that doesn't really help when you live clear up Peavine or you live, way out High Heaven or those type of spaces. Well, now as the fire chief, I look at that 98 square miles and I say, now, where do I need those fire stations now to cover the entire fire district? And so now, we look out towards the airport. We look at North Hill Road and Baker Creek. We look actually up Peavine. Those are where our studies now tell us fire stations need to be, because our goal is to meet that minimum 5-minute response time in our entire district, not just within the city.
Yeah.
So it's super important when your house is on fire. Fire doubles in size every 60 seconds.
Yeah.
When you're in cardiac arrest or having some type of major medical problem, time matters.
Yeah.
And if we're coming from one just isolated location like we are right now, those times can make a difference in your house burning down, someone being trapped in your house, or of course cardiac or respiratory arrest. It makes a big difference of how fast we can get there. And so now, instead of just looking at it from, I'll call it a 12 square mile or 12 square mile bubble, we look at it from a 98 square mile bubble.
Right. Awesome. Great. Thank you. So now that the district has been formed and you've been here for a year.
Here January 2nd, yes.
Okay. Moving forward, what are some pitfalls or let's do high-low. What's something really great that's already been established that you're kind of walking into going yeah, that's good. And then what are some things that I know because I listened to your talk, what are a lot of things that you're having to shift?
Sure. Fair question. I would say the high, to answer your question, is we have great people who work for us. We have very hardworking firefighters, very hardworking staff that are providing a service to the citizens of McMinnville.
Yeah.
They have the heart of gold. They work hard, and they care about this community.
Well, and sorry to cut you off, but just briefly, how much? Talk about how many people are on staff versus volunteers, because that kind of blew me away.
So our biggest goal, that's our high, but that's also our low, and that's where I was going to go. Is exactly where you're coming from. Is our low is we have right now currently 14 people on duty per shift. We only have one 2-person fire engine, and that's not a fire engine. Legally, that fire engine can't do anything if they get to your house and your house is on fire. They can't go inside the house. They can't affect a rescue because there's no one pumping the fire engine.
Yeah.
So we've worked very hard to go to a 3rd person on the engine, which we will be rolling out soon. The other factor, if you will, is our goal, as I stated earlier, is to get to your house within it shouldn't be your house, but any part of this district in 5 minutes or less. With those individuals, we only have one fire engine. If they're on a call, there's no other fire engine coming until the volunteers get there. The volunteers, when I first got hired here, we were pretty low on our volunteer numbers. It's very difficult. They're held to the same standard that our career firefighters are held to. From a legal perspective, as I stated in the conversation you're talking about at Corporate Coffee, when I was here, I started here in 1994 at the fire department, and when we had a fire, OMI, those doors opened and there was 4 or 5 people running down the road. All the businesses, not all, but many of the businesses allowed their employees to respond. We don't have that today.
Which, side note, because I see this on McMinnville community discussion boards a lot on Facebook, a lot of people new to town, they don't know what that siren is.
Sure.
So I'm here to tell you, the siren is calling for volunteer firefighters. That's what that siren sound is.
It is. Many years ago, many years ago, before we had pagers and before we had phones that told us where to go and those type of things, that general siren is how you notified the community that there was an incident.
Yeah.
But we're working very hard now to increase that staffing. We need to add at least 2 more engine companies to this 98 square miles to be able to come close to covering that 5 minutes, within our fire district. Ambulances are the same way. I said we cover 98 square miles, but our ambulance area is 450 square miles. That goes back to your question. That does include the Yamhills, the Carltons, the Lafayettes, the Daytons, and the Amy's.
Yeah.
So our ambulances can be an hour and a half away from that main station. And we have to work collectively with our partners to get those ambulances, on the fringes so that we can get to Carlton and Yamhill and Lafayette and Amity in those shorter period of times. Our average response time right now, we just had a consultant come in, is about 14 minutes.
Wow.
Now, if you're in the city of McMinnville, it's less than that. But of course, on average, when we have to go to the rural, it can be significantly less. Our goal is to get that 14 minutes down as close to that 5 to 8 minute time frame, 8 more for the rural area, 5 more for the city. And take the burden off of those very few firefighters that are on duty 24 hours, so that they can spread that, and so that we can run 1 and 2 and 3 calls back to back. Right now, that happens every day, and so we have staff chiefs. Chief Darby came up across the car wreck this morning. Well, there wasn't any in-service vehicles in the district because they were on that fire. He was on the way into the fire, and he was able to stop, render aid, and call for an ambulance. That's how we have to run it here in McMinnville, because we don't have those backup resources. And that's my number one goal, is to build out those fire stations and build the staffing to what really, if you asked a community member, it's what their expectation would be.
Right.
But they just don't know.
That's kind of going into this, before hearing your talk at Corporate Coffee, people just assume, especially in America and certain parts of America, you just assume police and fire, that's just a normal, we've got that on lockdown, everything's cool. People just don't even think about it, especially in a sweet, amazing town like McMinnville. It's just not on our minds until you make that call.
Correct.
And it's like, oh, we'll have someone there, and I don't know. It's like, what?
Yeah, and that was one of the things. It was asked at Corporate Coffee, why a fire district versus a city? The city's a great city, but you have to understand that those city departments, I think there's 11 of them. They're all competing for the same dollars, right?
Yeah.
And it makes it very difficult because all those departments are great departments, whether it be Park and Rec, whether it be Public Works, whether it be police, whether it be fire. There's only so much money in that pot, and they have to disseminate that on an annual basis.
Yeah.
Whereas with the fire district, we have to manage our money, which is one of the things we talked about at Corporate Coffee. We have to look at the priorities and manage our money internally. But as long as we can justify those purchases, like we talked about, our engines, our ambulances are and were on their last leg. I mean, I had an ambulance catch on fire on the way to a call. I had a fire engine catch on fire literally as they were pulling into quarters.
That's wild.
We have since, in the last 6 to 9 months, we've replaced 2 of our fire engines, we've replaced 3 of our ambulances, and we're set to replace 2 more, up to 2 more next fiscal year. So we've really taken that money that the community has so graciously entrusted us with, and we didn't just buy the cool stuff, if you will. And to give you an example, I think it's important that the community understands and knows that a fire engine today is $1 million, $1.1 million, and it's 3 years before we get it. I didn't have $1.1 million, and I couldn't wait 3 years.
Yeah.
So we used our contacts, the people who I've met over the years, and actually we bought 2 fire engines for just over $1.1 million. Just over $1 million, and we got them in about 3 months. Did you
do like pull favors? What do
it's
you?
Not as much
excuse
favors.
me.
We
you want to teach me your ways?
Yes, I'm happy to teach you your ways. We thought outside the box, and fire engines that people normally are used to seeing are kind of the cab over chassis fire engines. We bought the same exact fire engine, but it was a commercial chassis. It's a Freightliner chassis. So just a regular truck over the road. Everything behind the cab is exactly the same. The pumps, the cabinets, the tires, the wheels, the transmission, all that is exactly the same.
Will it catch on fire on the way to a fire?
Will not catch on fire.
Okay, I mean that sounds like a really great show.
And the same with the ambulances. We
Could
thought
you imagine a fire truck on fire to a fire?
Well, I actually saw it myself.
I can't imagine it. It happened.
Yeah, so we're really spending a lot of time, being very fiscally responsible and getting as much bang for the community's dollar as they've given us.
That's awesome. Good job.
Yes.
What's your craziest story? Or the most random call you've ever been called to?
Well, I can answer that from, it was probably 1995-ish.
Okay.
I was a student at McMinnville Fire Department, and another student and I, back then, there was only one paid guy on duty, and then the volunteers staffed the ambulances and the students.
Wow.
We had 9 students at the time. And one of the other students and I were getting ready to leave and go out and have some dinner, and a third out ambulance call came, which there's only, at the time, the first out ambulance was the only one that was staffed by volunteers. The rest of them were just additional volunteers that came in, and it was a third out ambulance call up above the Flying M Ranch, where a hunter had rolled off of an embankment, been ejected out of his pickup, and was trapped underneath his vehicle. So the student and I, the paid guy, said, hey, can you guys take this call? So we did. Hour or so above the Flying M, in about a foot of snow.
Oh, wow.
We found the hunter that found him came down to get us, and we all got in line, Yamhill Fire District and McMinnville's ambulance. And as we started going up this, it was snowing sideways, freezing cold, snow on the ground. And ultimately, I looked at my partner and I said, where did the fire engine go? And he looked at me and said, what do you mean? And I said, that's the taillights of the pickup. And a fire engine had rolled off of the cliff above that. And so...
What?
Yeah, I was 18 years old. My partner was 19, so that was a lot of issue.
You parked the fire engine?
We were waiting. So the fire district and us were waiting for the hunter to come down because we were way up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And he was going to drive us up to show us where that car accident was. And unfortunately, the engine just got probably too close to the side. We didn't see it because it was snowing so hard.
And you had parked it.
We had parked, but we were all leaving to go.
It was so close to the edge.
No, they were driving. We were just getting ready to follow the hunter back up. So we were all, the fire engine, the rescue, the ambulance, the squad, the chief, we're all starting to drive off. And, at some point, again, it was snowing really hard. And there was probably a foot of snow on the ground, and it rolled off. It ejected the 3 firefighters.
Oh.
And it ended up on its side against a tree with the driver and the officer inside of it. And when I looked at my partner with, probably eyes the size of baseballs, I got out, and all we had was hose, because the hose had come off the engine.
Oh, wow.
So my partner held the hose, and I slid down until I could hear him yelling, but couldn't see him. And I slid down, found the 3 firefighters. We ultimately got them up to the road and slid down to where I found the bottom of the engine, which I couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Because it was the bottom of an engine. That's not what I was expecting. We got those 2 up. And then once we got them up and started treating them, we called for more ambulances. Then we realized, wait a minute, we're still going on an actual 911 call.
We still got
to get back up.
Find these other guys.
That probably was one of the crazier calls I've been on.
Do you have anything, Ty?
Oh, I got no, that's a good one. That's a hard one to beat. A lot of interesting fire calls over the years. I guess one that really stands out for me was in my former employer. We burned down a 4-story building and apartment complex under construction. Essentially, construction site, almost an entire block. We ended up losing that building. We lost 3 single families that were across the street. We had exposure damage to 2 other structures, significant exposure, meaning those frontage of those buildings burned. And I think we lost, it was either 17 or 18 vehicles.
Wait, so, you said you burned down.
Sorry, that's a term. Sorry.
They caught on fire.
Do I need to report you?
But it was reminiscent. It looked, when everything, the fire was out, I want to say it went to 4th alarm. And so quite a few pieces of apparatus. And it looked, when it was all said and done, it looked like a war zone.
Oh, geez.
And a lot of people displaced, and it was just a very...
Can I ask, where was this?
It was in Wilsonville.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and that was about a few years ago. But, lots of crazy war stories, if you will, from fires and falls. But that's probably one that really sticks out as just one that was just on the magnitude.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to talk about cats and trees, though.
Yeah. Speaking of fire, my cat. No, actually, no. What I was gonna say was, with the response time the way it is, and just the lack of vehicles, the lack of ambulances, especially. I know the answer to this because I heard your talk. But what are some things that us citizens can do to help, essentially? I know, I'll say the first one. I know, don't call the fire department if your cat is stuck in a tree. They will eventually come down. I called...
No cat skeletons.
So there's no cat skeletons in trees. And I know this because last year... summer.
You did it.
I called, my cat got so far up. We did the extended ladder. She was not coming down. Then my daughter, she was 14 at the time, she is a rock star at climbing. And when I say that, I'm not just saying that. She's an amazing rock climber, and she's climbed mountains with my dad, and she knows how to climb. And so she was like, I'll get the cat. And she climbed this tree. Anyway, I have pictures of it. She couldn't get the cat. And I was like, okay, if she can't get the cat, I'm calling the fire department. And I did. And the dispatch lady was just, I wouldn't say she was warm and fuzzy nice. She was just very the cat will come down. It's fine. We don't have anyone to send right now. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, 4 hours. It was a while, but yeah. 4 hours later, the cat came out.
They'll always come down with it.
And it's fine. She was fine.
Yeah.
So that's number one. That's number one.
Yep. Yeah, that was a great question. And, the biggest thing for us is emergency rooms, ambulances are well understaffed and very busy.
Yeah.
And so anything that you can do to take care of yourself or your family prior to needing to call an ambulance is important.
Yeah.
The example that I gave and I give is, you're getting that cold or you're getting kind of feeling crummy that ultimately turns into pneumonia because you've stayed at your house for so long and you didn't go to the doctor, you didn't go to urgent care.
Right.
That ultimately involves an ambulance transport to the hospital. The problem with that is that it's not that you're not feeling crummy and not even that you don't need help, but there's so many significant injuries and sicknesses that are in the emergency rooms that a lot of times you get put on the back burner and the back burner and the back burner.
Yeah.
And you take an ambulance, an advanced life support ambulance out of the system that maybe needs to go on a cardiac arrest or a respiratory arrest where they're not breathing. So we will always come and we will always take you to the hospital. We will never tell you no. That is a rule.
Yeah.
But anything that you can do to help yourself or your family or your kids, your parents, your grandparents, when you're just kind of like, man, this isn't, it's not really turning that corner, go be seen at urgent care. Go be seen by your primary care physician, and try and keep those emergency rooms, those ambulances. Again, if you need us and you feel like you need us,
sure,
by all means, you call 911.
Well, and you mentioned, I believe, just learning CPR. Take a CPR class.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a great example.
You can save a life.
Well, there's a great example for that right here, and it was just this year. And I can speak of this. This is permission from the student's mom.
Yeah.
But, just this last year, track season, first day of track season, 15-year-old male, getting ready for his first day of track practice, warming up, collapsed and went into cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
His coach started CPR. The athletic trainer went and got an AED. They shocked the individual twice before we got there with an AED. Because of their 911 call, a third faculty member called 911. Because of that 911 call, we knew what we were going to, and we added resources. We activated a helicopter. That child ultimately went to a Portland hospital, was treated, and maybe month later, we were able to meet him and his family at the school district office to give the faculty an award, a life-saving award, and actually shook his hand.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I can honestly tell you, had that CPR not been started, that AED not been utilized, I'm not going to say he wouldn't have lived, but his chances would have, to the 90th percentile, significantly decreased.
I mean, just brain damage in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your blood stops flowing to your brain, stops flowing to your heart, your organs and such start to shut down.
Do you remember the response time? Like, how long did it take you guys to get there?
I do. I actually could look it up. I believe it was just over 5 minutes before we got there.
Wow.
But remember that is from the time that we found out about it, right? So they were doing CPR before we were even notified.
Yeah.
And then it takes about 60 seconds to process that call at the 911 center and then dispatch it, and then we get we get in and we go.
Well, and then there's the time, people don't even think about these things, the time where everyone's just like, wait, what's going on?
Correct.
Like, if someone collapses, like, how much time does it take for someone to jump into action?
They actually thought that he had just tripped, because they actually witnessed him fall down. He kind of went face first and thought maybe he hit his head.
Wow.
And then, like I said, those three great faculty members, they realized, hey, he didn't just fall and he didn't just bump his head. And they took action. And to my recollection, I don't believe any of them had ever done CPR before. They'd been trained, but had never done it.
Yeah.
And they just, just like it was nothing. And they did a phenomenal job and saved a 15-year-old's life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm one of those people that will jump into action just if no one else is doing something. I've actually been a part of a couple random, fainting. Mm-hmm. There's this one, I was at a Passover years ago, and this
last Friday?
Something like that. This older lady just collapsed, and no one was doing anything. Everyone was just like, "Oh no, call 911." And so I told this guy to put her on the floor, and then I raised up her legs, and she woke up because I had seen super random. I had seen someone do that in France, of all places. I was in Paris, and this mom and her son were walking across the street in busy Paris, and her son started collapsing in her arms. He was a teenage kid. And she moves him to the sidewalk and lays him down and lifts up his legs. And people were like, "Is everything okay?" She's like, "It's fine. This happens all the time," kind of brushing off people. I'm like, "Ooh, I'm going to remember that." That's amazing. I've never been taught that trick.
One of the things that's important, and I'll just give a shout out, we have a very robust first aid and CPR program at the fire district.
There you go.
And if you go to McMinnvilleFireDistrict.gov, we very frequently have CPR classes that you can attend, and you can attend both days and get both certifications. And it's just super important because, as you said, you may be out there by yourself, or you may be a ways away, and that knowledge will save a life. That keeping that oxygen and that blood flowing is what will make a difference.
Well, especially for people who live outside city limits, like it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, come on. You gotta just put 2 and 2 together. If it takes you 20 minutes to drive to your house, it's gonna take 20 minutes plus for an ambulance to get to your house. You should have these things in place.
I think just kind of what we were speaking to earlier is in our business, seconds count. And part of our role in the community is we also have a saying that we often see people on their worst day, their worst moments. So we always try to go above and beyond with our customer service and how we deliver that service to them, because they are our customers, and whether that be a car accident or CPR or a structure fire. So it's something that I think we really take pride in. It's a cool job.
Well, cool beans. Okay, just last but not least, moving forward, what are your hopes and dreams, like 5-year, 10-year plan?
So we're working very hard right now, as I stated earlier, on increasing our staffing. The problem with that is twofold. One, we have to fund the increase in staffing.
What? You have to have money to pay people?
You have to have money.
Crazy.
But even more so, we don't have anywhere to put them.
Oh, no.
Our fire station is beyond its capacity, both administratively and from the staff. Our volunteers, when we have really crummy weather, whether it be red flag warning or ice storms or things like that, we will supplement our crews with our volunteers. The problem is our volunteers, if they come down, they have nowhere to stay. All our beds, even if we're fully staffed, we actually don't even have enough beds for our career staff.
Oh, no.
Our executive staff, Chief Darby's upstairs in a closet with 5 of his closest friends.
Wow, that sounds really fun.
That
sounds
like
a small office. It's not a closet, but it is.
Do you have beds in there too?
They used to. No, not now. But that is one of the things.
Sounds like a
we're
fun
looking
sleepover.
It's very cozy upstairs. Yeah.
All right.
This is semi-breaking news for your show.
Okay.
We are in contract with the second fire station right now.
Okay.
Out on 3 Mile Lane, and so we still have due diligence to do. We still have a bit of a process, but it was announced at the board meeting last Thursday that the board has elected to move forward with the purchase of a piece of property. And what that will allow us to do is put our administrative staff out there, as well as put our second fire station, ambulances, fire engines, and that also will allow the downtown station to be able to grow also. So
you heard it here
right.
First, folks.
Heard it here first.
There's going to be a second station. Very
then
exciting.
To answer your question for the 5 to 10,
yes,
we need a third fire station in the northwest part of town. North Hill Road, Baker Creek area. And so we're going to work hard on trying to find property for that, and then of course funding for the future for that.
All right.
Those are our big goals.
Awesome.
Well, it's a big deal too, because this doesn't happen very often around the state, where districts form or essentially merge. It happens here and there, but I think one of the last ones that we knew of that was larger, I think, was Redmond.
Oh, okay.
Which 2010 or 9.
So
us being in the driver passenger seat, the front seat, watching all this and trying to make all this happen has been it's been super exciting. It's,
awesome.
It's been a fun ride.
Well, I'm so happy that you're able to come today, both of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
Thanks for putting out the fire earlier this morning. Wow, good job.
Yep. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate your support and the ability to come on the air and talk about the fire district. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You.
Thank you for your time.
And we will see you guys later. Bye.
Thank you.